Hi guys, welcome back to the GoonerPod. Happy New Year to everybody. Here with the laddie Adam. Ad, how we doing? Happy New
All
Year,
good,
sir.
thanks. Happy New Year.
I know you had a busy festive period. You was at the Arsenal West Ham game. How was it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Um, Atmosphere was a little bit deflated to begin with. Um, but as soon as like you can see the team gaining um momentum and the atmosphere just it was electric. Um, Obviously got the confidence back. But yeah, it's brilliant.
I did wonder about the atmosphere because when I tuned into it on the telly, it seemed a bit flat and people were late coming in, and I
Yeah.
just wondered if everyone had a bit too much turkey the day before, etc., and just a bit lethargic. But I think once West Ham scored, we really rallied behind the troops, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think it
yeah,
was a bit of a sorry.
go on.
I think it was a bit of an iffy one. There was a lot more there than I thought there was going to be because obviously there was strikes. So I think a lot of fans like local were getting tickets off fans that weren't able to weren't able to make it down. So I think that's probably why people were arriving late as well. Um, Obviously an iffy time to be kicking off. Um, Quite a late
Yeah,
kickoff as well.
yeah. So it's a right pain in the arse, isn't it? The game times on Boxing Day. Everyone knows it's hard enough travelling around London as it is
Yeah.
without train strikes and tube strikes and everything else. Anyone else that doesn't feel like they have to go to work these days.
Mm,
Um, and obviously, I know you come from outside of London yourself, so it's always difficult anyway. But just a nightmare. I think we're probably close to full attendance by what I see on the telly, and I can only applaud everyone that went. Really, I got offered the chance to go, and I thought it's too much of a ball ache for me to get from where
yeah.
I live to the stadium and back at a reasonable time. Plus, I'd already made plans for the day anyway.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, fair play to anyone that went. It looked good. I thought West Ham penalty. I mean, if I'm being soft, I think that's being too
Well, I was
kind
up
on
the
the
other
decision. I
end.
couldn't believe it was given.
Yeah, I mean, I was up the other end, and the first thing that I noticed was that Bowen had Tierney on ice for he just couldn't contain him for the first say like half an hour, even up until like half time. Everything as soon as it was that 1-on-1, he just it petrified me watching it, and then obviously Saliba. I think what had happened was Gabby had come out to head the ball, so he was trying to win it back, and he was quite high up the pitch. Because I was up the clock end, so obviously the penalty was actually in the north bank end, so it's quite
Yeah,
quite far away from me. But because I was in the opposite, I had a good view of it, so I saw that Gabby was out of position. He was trying to win the ball back so we could attack, and then Saliba was left on his own, and he was you could see he was dithering. Is he going to go towards? I think it was Bowen, or was he going to cut back in? Um, and I think he just with whatever he did, he was you know fighting a losing battle because although he's a cracking defender, he's not going to be able to deal with two attackers. Um, and then obviously I think Ramsdale's positioned fine that if Saliba hadn't made the tackle, he probably would have saved it. But I think he just panicked. I think he just
yeah.
panicked and saw, he didn't want to concede the goal, and in that, obviously, the penalty was given away. And I've got to say, from where I was, I didn't. I mean, he didn't even get a card for it as well. I didn't think it was. Um, I didn't think it was a penalty initially, and then obviously got checked, and then it was. But I think he just panicked.
I thought it was a ridiculous decision to give it a penalty. There was barely any contact at all. Bowen carried on and fell over his own feet, and I think that's why he got the penalty. Is because initially Mike Oliver thought that contact was enough to
Mm,
put him down, but that's not really what happened. But because it's
mm,
not seen as a clear and obvious error from the ref, it's not overturned,
yeah,
which I understand to a degree. But the ref's got to get that right first time. But he had a mare. He gave us one for the handball that he shouldn't have. as well.
Yeah.
Initially, I mean, he's 10 yards away. He's looking directly at, I think it was Cresswell. Every man and his dog could have seen that the ball struck him in the face.
Yeah.
And he'd give a penalty. And that's not even the frustrating thing. Why does he need to go and see it on the monitor? You must have been there for a good couple of minutes waiting to see if we had a penalty that everyone in the world knew wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't.
Why can't
when
the
it comes
fourth?
on,
Yeah, the VAR. Whoever's in the VAR room, just say no. You got that wrong. Need to restart with drop ball or whatever happened.
Yeah.
Why the delay? It's such a pantomime and a circus at times. Football. He had an awful game. The ref, awful game. But the giving the penalty against Saliba set the tone for how soft football's become.
Yeah.
But I thought the boys responded really well. In fact, for most of the first half, I see a lot of people at half time were complaining and sort of thrown in the towel on the season already because we was losing 1-0. But the performance was encouraging. I thought we played well against them actually first half. And that was
I completely agree.
about the only chance they had, wasn't it, the penalty? A couple of long distance shots. I know they got in behind Tierney a few times and put the ball in the box, but nothing come of it.
No.
My fears
that
were
was
put
the
to
only
bed.
thing.
I thought we played well. And when Nketiah played the way he did as well, I thought we played well Nketiah the whole game.
Yeah, it was good.
Me and you have spoken in the past, haven't we, about worried about his overall play. I mean, I don't doubt that he can put the ball in the net, but can he contribute to the team? But he performed admirably. I thought he was good against Brighton as well, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But any worries that I had are gone now. I think, I was really worried about Jesus' absence, but the team's really stepped up. And
I think that's a good point. It's the whole team. It's not just Eddie. Every single player was stepped up. I think Martinelli's brilliant. All the time, Saka's brilliant. All the time, Odegaard's it just seems to me like he's gone up a level, particularly in the last couple of games. I mean, he's brilliant anyway, but in the last couple of games, he's just been better.
Yeah.
And it's confidence. Obviously, he gives confidence to the players around him. And I completely agree as well that we did play well in that first half. I know obviously we went 1-0 down. It wasn't a goal from open play. It was a penalty. But other than that, we created chances. We played well. We did play well. And then when we went 1-0 down, the only thing I was thinking, oh my God, not again. But we go down and we don't do what we've done in previous seasons, which is start to panic, start to make even more stupid mistakes and completely throw the game away. We fight back. And I think if you look at the celebration from Saliba for Martinelli's goal, he was you could see right in his celebration, he was just really, really happy that obviously we took the lead, and then obviously Eddie finished it off. But I think sometimes you need to have a look at the overall, performance. And I think we played really well, because it's not easy to have a break and then play West Ham, on an evening kickoff after the Christmas period. But I think they played really well. To be honest,
we couldn't have, in my eyes, through my own personal experience through my footballing life, we couldn't have asked for a harder game of West Ham to come back. They are the kings of the shithouse. Always there to spoil the party and ruin the day. They're just one of those teams that will pick up unexpected results that screw somebody's season over. And just for family reasons as well, my mum's side of the family was always West Ham. My dad's was Arsenal. There's always a bit of gentle rivalry between us anyway. But I can't stand West Ham for that reason. So it's one game I was dreading it. But fair play to the boys. They dominated. It was a complete performance, dominated for 90 minutes. Every single one of them. The only one I thought was a little bit ropey was Tierney. But he did grow into the game. I think just a couple of direct balls over the top. They are difficult to defend when the ball goes over your head and you're running back towards your own goal. There's nothing you can do about it, but try and get him back into position. And Joe Bowen's just quicker than him.
Yeah.
So it makes it even harder. So I thought we
I
dealt
mean,
with
he's
it
a brilliant
okay,
player.
but he earned his money that night. He was made to work for it, you know.
No, I think he started off a little bit, a little bit shaky, but I think as the game went on, you could see he was more in control of it. So, he's not had loads of game time, has he, over the past couple of seasons. And you kind of know what you get with him. He's gonna give you his all, even if, obviously he got caught out a couple of times, but it wasn't like he kept getting caught out. It happened a few times, and then he managed to contain him. But it was a little bit. I was a little bit nervous watching him in the first half, but it's not always going to be perfect. That's
No,
going to
and
happen. We're going to come against teams that are gonna trouble us like that. So it's good experience. It's good experience for him. So
I think he's very much the backup now, isn't he? Zinchenko
mm,
is very much first choice for the system that we want to play. And when Tierney has to play, it almost takes him a good half hour, 40 minutes to get into a rhythm
yeah,
of how that role, what's expected in that role.
mm,
Um, and that's why I think he'll find himself being on the fringes more often than not this year.
mm,
Zinchenko's got his fitness problems, as we well know. He's only been available for half the time he's been at Arsenal, and he needs to fix that and sort that out. So we have a little bit more consistency from him, but he's definitely second choice. And I think it probably plays on his mind a little bit as well. He did an interview, didn't he? He said he's always been first choice, and this is very different for him.
yeah,
But like I say, he grew into the game, and he was, if Kieran Tierney's an issue, then Arsenal have got nothing to worry about at all in terms of their
yeah,
future. Another one I thought struggled, and I thought he was poor against Brighton as well, is Saliba, which surprises me really, because although he didn't play a lot of the World Cup, he would have been training the whole time with obviously a load of world class players that they have.
yeah.
And I just thought I thought he was good in the second half against West Ham, but he was sloppy in the first half, and I thought he was
Mm.
sloppy throughout the game against Brighton. Is it something we should be worried about? Is he playing with that one booking on his mind? Do you think?
I think so. I do think so, and obviously he'll be aware of that, and I think it's probably something Arteta's probably, and the staff have spoken to him about, because we know how important he is, and obviously we don't want to lose him. But then again, if you're worried about getting a yellow card, making that challenge that he made in the West Ham game,
Mm.
that was a silly thing to do. Because I mean, if he'd have actually made the contact, proper contact, then it could have been a red. So maybe, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think we're talking about consistency. We're talking about a player that's still quite young. He was brilliant, obviously, when he went to the French league and he played there, and then he's come to us. I think he's a massive part of our squad, and I think he's a massive part of why we do well. Um, 9 times out of 10, he does the right thing, and we've spoke about it before, haven't we? The partnership, that if Saliba makes a mistake, Gabby's there to, he's usually solid at the back, and it's the same if Gabby makes a mistake, then Saliba can have a good game. But I don't think it's anything we need to worry about now, because it's two games out of how many,
Yeah,
16. So I don't think it's, if we're going on that ratio, um, it's a good ratio. But I don't think it's anything to worry about just yet. We'll see, obviously, what happens
yeah. I think
tomorrow.
with the fixtures coming up, he needs to sharpen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because better teams are punished. I know he's already been punished for the goal against Brighton and the penalty for West Ham. He can't be
Mm,
giving away too many goals.
no.
He's got a lot of credit in the bank, put it that way. And you won't see me giving him any stick, but he does certainly need to find some form.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a bit of rustiness. He's not played any football since the start of November. 27 minutes at the World Cup. Training's not the same intensity, is it?
Mm.
Maybe he's just got to find his rhythm a little bit, and these two games would have helped him do that, I suppose. But
And it might be distraction with the contract as well. There's a lot of news coming out about, the contract, about, digging the heels in, because wants more money. And I think when you've got other things on your mind, obviously he might not be fully focused. He might not be. I mean, it's just speculation, but these things can have an effect on players as well, can't they? But I mean, I look at it as if he has a solid performance against Newcastle, Spurs, and United, and he's made those couple of mistakes, nobody's going to remember those couple of mistakes. They're going to remember that he's turned up when we've needed him. So hopefully he'll be looking at those mistakes that he's made and making sure that he doesn't repeat that for the games that we've got coming up. Because if he does make mistakes like that against the teams that we've got coming up, we are going to get punished for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I say, just a little bit of rustiness to shake off maybe, and it looks like he might have got past that. And so he should.
Yeah.
It's two games of 180 minutes in the space of 5 days. I'm sure he'll play again tomorrow, and we'll all be watching nervously because he's on a yellow, or one yellow away from a suspension, which doesn't count. I was told today in the FA Cup, so it would go forward to the next league game, which is obviously Spurs away, which is a game that he will be needed in, I'm sure.
Yeah, we can't lose him in the next two. So if he gets a yellow, obviously, if he doesn't get a yellow tomorrow, then he can't be getting a yellow against Spurs either, because we're going to need him for United. So he's just going to have to be calm, and he's going to have to, that partnership are going to have to work together to protect the team, really, because we really do need him.
We do. Another thing found out today, I was watching a podcast earlier with Lee Judges. Saka is also on 4 yellow cards, which I wasn't aware of.
No, I think obviously he got a card, didn't he?
Got a card against Brighton.
Against Brighton. So I mean,
I will need to double check
he's
that.
less likely.
Someone said it was his 4th yellow. Now, I struggle to work out how someone of his nature has got 4 yellow cards this season, especially when the nature of a yellow card against Brighton was just ridiculous anyway. The way it's just a tangle of legs. There was no malice, nothing, no intent in the tackle at all. On the comments on the podcast, someone said that there's been less cards given on fouls against Saka than Saka's received himself. So there hasn't been, in the amount of times he gets fouled, there hasn't been an accumulation of 4 yellow cards against Saka this season, which I found astonishing. But at the same time, I'm not surprised, because it seems to be a golden rule in Premier League football that you can kick Bukayo Saka around a pitch, but he might foul you back once and get booked.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get a little bit pissed off of it. I couldn't believe it when I see earlier he's 1 game away for us, 1 card away from a suspension.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. If you see some of the challenges that he's had, I know he's a handful. We all know what a player he is, but if you actually watch some of the challenges that he's had, I've seen him in the space of 10 minutes go down 4 or 5 times from proper challenges. And it's not only a worry that if he gets injured, but like you say, they can kick him all over the pitch, and it's just I don't know. There seems to be this perception, and it seems to be from rival fan bases that he dives. I can honestly say, not being biased, I've never seen him dive. When I see him go down in the penalty area or anywhere else, he is the kind of player, and we've seen it, that he'll have a challenge, and if he can carry on going, he'll carry on going. He does not dive. So I don't know if maybe that's what the referees think or what, but I've genuinely never seen him dive. He's too good to need to do that. But yeah, that's actually quite surprising that with some of just this season alone, with some of the tackles that he's had against him, that more players haven't been booked. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I'm not going to say that the fact was gospel when it was 100% true, because I don't know. I haven't looked up myself, and I wouldn't even know where to start. But I wouldn't be surprised. At all.
No, I really wouldn't. No, not at all.
But yeah, he's another one walking that tightrope, and it's in a period of games where all three of them are hard.
Mm.
You can imagine if they both missed the same game as well.
Yeah.
Would just
No,
be
we can't.
ridiculous. Saliba, what would you do if Saliba was suspended? Would you push Ben White in the middle and bring in Tomiyasu, or would you play Rob Holding and leave White at centre back? Right back?
I wouldn't play. I wouldn't play Holding if I'm being completely honest. I mean, I think Tommy can play centre back as well, can't he? Because I think he's played there before. So I think the good thing is we've got more options. The players are more versatile. They're not fixed to positions. But I think I've probably been mindful to if it was down to me, I'd leave Ben at right back because I think he's got that link up with Saka, and he's good at overlapping. He's got that position perfect. So I'd rather see Tommy play centre back, but obviously I don't think he's actually played there for us yet. So
no, he's not. That would spell the end for Rob Holding, though, wouldn't it? If we did that,
I just think with Rob. I mean, we saw him come on against Brighton.
Yeah, he wasn't fantastic, was he? Nor with
No,
Tomiyasu.
and I mean against Juventus as well in the friendly, he just got turned. I'm sure he played in that game. I'm sure it was him, and he just got turned, and it was like obviously you go from watching Saliba, you go from watching Gabriel to him, and I mean he got turned the same way that Eddie turned against West Ham, and it's like he was the last defender as well. And you can't have that, especially against a team like Spurs, because they will get chances, and you definitely don't want that against a team like United that break away quickly. So it could be devastating if that position happened. But obviously, you've got to take into account that it wasn't the strongest team against Juventus. But I think Rob's the kind of player that comes on when you've already got a back four and he slots in his extra cover to see out the game, and I think he's got confidence in doing that. I honestly wouldn't want to see him there, but then at the same time, I'd just be in too harsh because we again haven't seen him in a solid lineup. So I think if it was down to me, I'd probably put Tomiyasu in, but I think Arteta sees them, and he'll, if that was to happen, he'll obviously pick the right player. But I think personally, I just feel a bit iffy about it. But maybe I'm just being too harsh.
I know it's hard, isn't it? Because he is the third centre back, I suppose, this season because Ben's been used at right back. But I kind of get what you mean as well. Tomiyasu's got a turn of pace, hasn't he? He's got a more imposing frame. I worry. I've never seen him play centre back, so I don't know what to expect there.
Well, I mean, if you look at his aerial duels, if you look at his aerial duel stats, he's not afraid to come out and clear the ball. He's obviously a different kind of player to Saliba, but obviously he's got the pace as well. And I think maybe that's something they're doing in training. Maybe they're switching things up to see, as a scenario that they're not planning for it, it's just in case. But I don't know. One half of me feels like I'm being too harsh, and the other half of me feels that Rob obviously is that player that he comes on and he fills in the gap. But again, like I say, he come on against Brighton, and I wasn't 100% convinced. I wasn't 100% happy with what I seen. Obviously, but again, obviously it was a different team. He took off, our first team players and put on others to save the legs. Obviously, Newcastle's a big game, but I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult because I feel like I'm being harsh, but
it is difficult. You've got the same reservations as the rest of us, mate. I don't think you're being harsh. It's there's a big drop off from Saliba, isn't there, and Gabriel, unless you put Ben White there, I suppose. But do you lose so much from right back? I mean, I don't know. We've set such high standards. We all panic now about what happens when you have to do something else. But there we go. I mean, I think we'll be okay. I mean, to be honest, Saliba's been on 4 yellow cards now since what game was it? It was back in October. It might have been in the Liverpool game. So he's proved he can go on a run without getting booked.
Yeah.
He's quite a classy defender, isn't he? He doesn't go to ground a lot. I know he give the penalty away against West Ham, but he's not someone that goes to ground a lot because he doesn't have to. So you automatically eradicate one way of giving away a yellow there. I mean, one of his Leeds was the last yellow card he got for the handball.
And
that was the last one.
That was
early October, middle of October, something like that. So, you know, he's already gone on a long run without a yellow. So as long as he can keep that up for a couple more games, I wouldn't mind him missing United at home. For example, I'd prefer him to be at White Hart Lane than have to play that one. But
I mean, he's only going to look at the next 3, hasn't he? Because it's past that 19 game mark. So
yeah.
So we just need to get through Newcastle, Spurs, and United. It's much easier said than done, especially with how tricky those games are going to be. And regardless of what we think of Spurs, obviously it's a derby, and they are going to maybe. I mean, I wasn't blown away with what I watched. I was actually bored, which is, I mean, it's great watching them lose. I'm not going to lie. But I just looked at them and thought, if we go, obviously they're at home as well. If we go there with the team that we've got, we're just going to absolutely obliterate them. But I know that it's not going to be like that because of what it is and what it means, and obviously what happened last season as well. But they are going to be huge games, and we do need him. I wouldn't want to see him get a card in the next 2. I'd rather we keep him for all 3, and then it resets and cracks on with the second half of the season. About the rest of the games is 19, another 19, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we're nearly halfway through it. The Man United game is the halfway point for us.
Yeah.
Just touching on the Brighton game, I was incredibly impressed at how quick we started.
Yeah.
You think it'd be very easy for a team of our nature, sort of the first title challenge as a group. A lot of them are very young, not been in this situation before, to see their eyes light up with an opportunity to go 7 points clear. And Brighton away is a tough fixture for us. It's a tough fixture for anybody, but particularly ourselves. They're a bit of a bogey side for us.
Yeah.
I thought their first half performance was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And I know they come on to us a little bit second half. And Brighton play against everybody at 100 miles per hour. So they've done nothing different to us than they have to anyone else. Except the difference is they thrashed Man United. They've beaten Chelsea. They give City a good game at the Etihad. I think they've beaten Spurs this year. I'm not 100% sure on that. Drew Liverpool 3 or Anfield. So they get good results because of the nature of their play. So I think a lot of our fan base has gone well over the top about conceding a couple of goals. One of them was a blatant mistake off Saliba, which you can easily eradicate. 9 out of 10 times he deals with that comfortably. I don't know what he was doing, but it bobbled off his knees and put the player through. And their first goal was actually really good. Really good play. And sometimes you have to just say fair play. They're no mugs. They're sitting 8th in the table. They're gonna create some chances at home, and they took a couple of them. We scored 4. No one goes to Brighton and scores 4.
No, I think they're a brilliant team.
Yeah, nobody blows them away. Brentford. Just sat here and watched the Brentford-Liverpool game. They've smashed Liverpool today. They've smashed everybody at home. Who's the only team to have gone there and got anything? 3-0. So
I think they beat City as well, didn't they? Brentford.
Yeah. So there's an overwhelming itch from our fan base to have a pop at the team. I don't know if it just can't shake old habits, things like that. But I wasn't happy watching it. It was a bit uncomfortable second half. They were kept coming on to us, and I think maybe it's part of the game plan. You don't have to go gung ho. You can sit in and protect what you have,
Mm.
so conserve your energy a little bit. It's another game coming up in 3 days, etc. But I thought we dealt with it by and large. I don't remember them peppering us with too many shots, anything like that. A few corners. Ramsdale dealt with them quite well.
I mean, this
overall very satisfying.
The bigger picture is we're not going to walk through this season. We're going to have the moments like when we played Liverpool. Obviously every time we've gone behind, pretty soon we've come back. I don't think we've conceded in the first half an hour of a game this season. I don't think we've actually gone behind in the first half an hour. I'll have to double check that, but I don't think we have. And I think with the Brighton game, it was important that we started because that set the tone. Obviously, inside 2 minutes, Saka was calm, and obviously you mentioned about we knew at the time that we were playing that City had obviously dropped points at Everton, so that's like extra pressure. And I think if you look at last season, when teams around us dropped points, we also dropped points, and I think that was due to obviously the pressure. Whereas this season, it feels different, and I think when we go behind, I don't panic as much. Obviously, when we went behind against West Ham, I wasn't comfortable because obviously, you don't feel comfortable in the timing and the team and everything. But then at Brighton, I do think people are overreacting. Don't get me wrong. When they scored the last one, obviously, look, it was ruled as offside. But I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was nervous because I was thinking, oh God, we've seen it happen before. And I think naturally, because you've seen it happen before, it's possible. And like you say, Brighton play 100 miles an hour, and they are a top team. But if you look at what happened, Arteta took off Partey. He took off, was it Saka?
Yeah.
He took off Ben White. He took off
He initially
Tierney as well.
Tierney, White, and Partey. Then he was the first three.
So I mean, you take Partey alone, and that is a massive hole in midfield, in my opinion. And then obviously you take Ben White and you put on, who was it come on for Ben White?
Tomiyasu come on for Ben White.
Was it Tomiyasu? So obviously, that's a, and then obviously Tierney goes off and you bring on Zinchenko, and I don't think that's necessarily a like a weak move, obviously because Zinchenko is a top player. But if you look at the team that was on the pitch when we went 4-1, and then you look at the team that was on the pitch when we conceded, it's a weakened squad. And what Arteta actually did was he took off Ben White, he took off Partey. They're going to be players that we need for Newcastle. We need them fresh. We need them with a bit of energy because obviously it's been, the fixtures are piled up. So if you look at it as an overall, I do think people are overreacting. The main thing is that we won the game, but I think Arteta and the coaching staff will probably go in with the players and say, this is what happened against West Ham. This is what happened against Brighton. But if you don't go through that process, if you don't go through those moments where you are up against it, where you have got pressure, then you don't learn how to deal with it. So the fact is we've been through that situation, but we've learned something from it and we've still taken maximum points during it. So it's
an excellent
I thought
point
we played well. We played well. We've got the points. I'd rather we go through what we did against Brighton than do that against Newcastle because I think we had enough left and we had enough advantage with what we'd already done. And I think this is also important why when we score, don't just sit back on it, keep going, because actually Eddie scored obviously early on and then Gabby kind of like, tied it up. But then Brighton really did, obviously the team would change, they really pushed. But we had that kind of comfort knowing that we'd got, a 3-goal lead, obviously went down to 2. But I think the team learned something from that. And when that happens again, they'll be better prepared for it. They won't just fold. They'll be like, okay, we've done this before. Obviously happened against Leeds, didn't it, as well? We had to hold it against Leeds. But I'd rather it be against those teams than teams like, City or United or even, Spurs. When you're down, they'll take you for, for everything that they can. So I don't worry too much because we're still getting everything that we can out of it. But then obviously it's not something you want to see week in, week out, where the team starts to come onto us. And then I think Brighton had like 60 something possession at one point, and we managed it, and we still controlled, what was happening. It was lucky that last one was offside, because I think we really, really would have felt the pressure. But we've come out the other side with maximum points, and Arteta might be looking at, when he makes those changes, those players that are coming on really have to not weaken the team. If does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I see what you're saying, but I don't think the three changes weaken the side too much. I mean, Tomiyasu was first choice last year.
Yeah.
Tierney was as well, and started against West Ham. And Elneny, we know, can do a good job in the midfield. I just think it was circumstantial for the game. Really, there's been a massive overreaction to it from our fan base, and yes, like you already alluded, it's not nice to see, but we will learn from it. And you need to go through these experiences in life to take lessons from and move on and not make the same mistakes again. And I think there's an element of it was controlled, relinquish of possession as well. I think we was happy for them to have the ball. It was 3-1, I think, when he made the changes. They had already scored. So they scored once. And everyone goes, oh, well, they had one disallowed. Well, yeah, but it was disallowed for offside. It's irrelevant. It was offside. So they didn't. Arsenal didn't concede 2 more. They conceded 1 more. Otherwise, we could say we could score 6 every week and just have people offside all the time. It didn't count because it was offside. It was an illegal goal. So it's irrelevant that it went in the back of the net.
I mean, if you look at the score, it's 4-2. That's exactly the same result that we got against Leicester. Now, coming off the back of the Leicester game, obviously, I think that's when Saliba had scored that own goal. And we just, we carried on, we rallied on. Nobody overreacted then, and it's exactly the same scoreline. At the end of the day, we went away to Brighton. We were a top team. To be honest, I didn't expect us to score as early as we did, and I definitely didn't expect us to win. I didn't expect us to score 4 goals, especially given that we've got our main striker out when you think of it like that. But we went there and we played out of our skin, and we got a result, and it's not going to be 100% all of the time, because Brighton are a good team, and I think Newcastle are going to give us a right go, and I think you have to respect that. People look at Newcastle, they look at Brighton, they look at Brentford, and they see them as relegation teams. That's not the case anymore. They are top teams that, if you give them a chance, and I mean, Brentford have done it today.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool probably thought, I know my brother-in-law did, he said it was on before 4-0 Liverpool, and they went there. And I think if you support, a big team, just think, oh yeah, it's just Brentford, it's just Brighton. It's like, it's just Newcastle. A lot of people are sleeping on Newcastle at the moment, but they are good teams. They're good teams that will, if you give them a chance, they will take it.
No easy fixture in the league, is there? We look at, I know we lost at United. The other game we dropped points in is Southampton, and they're bottom. When you think of it like that, there's no easy fixture in the league, and we should be coming away with absolutely buzzing that we've won 4-2 at Brighton. I think for large parts of the fan base there was, but I just don't get the necessity to find something to have a pop at. But yeah, so obviously we've got Newcastle tomorrow, which I know you're going to. Looking further beyond that, Harry Kane is also on 4 yellows. So if he gets booked at Palace, he will miss the North London derby.
I mean,
which is interesting.
he always turns up against us, doesn't he? I mean, it wouldn't
He
be a bad
does.
thing
It would
to.
be handy if he's not there.
Yeah,
We've got 3 players on 4, which is Jesus, Saliba, and Saka. Obviously, not going to affect Jesus because by the time
yeah.
he gets around to playing, that would have been reset.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't realise Kane was on 4. I'm just looking through as well. There's no one on the list for United, so they've obviously got no one on the tightrope, but they could get a couple of yellows before then.
Mm.
City have got no one close to a ban either. God knows how Rodri is not on that list, but it's another.
Speaking of
debate.
speaking of Spurs, did you watch the game against who was it? Was it
Villa.
the player? Villa. Did you watch it?
I did, yeah. And if I'm being honest, I went out for lunch with my mate today. He was a Spurs fan, and I said to him, "It's the first time in years I'm expecting Arsenal to go and win comfortably at Spurs."
Yeah.
Um,
No, I don't want to end
up
up the
egg on
same
my
way.
face, but
No, I feel the same way. I mean, we've seen them before, haven't they? Play rubbish until they play us, and then they just go up to another level. Because obviously, it's the derby and form does go out the window. But I feel we're better. We're better prepared for pressure. We're better prepared for that kind of atmosphere, and we've just got to go and do it. I think that's the point. But when I watched that game, was it yesterday?
yeah,
When I watched that game yesterday, there was obviously Romero was already on a yellow card, and I think it was Coutinho, he was
he
running
absolutely
down
smashed
for the
him.
ball,
Yeah,
and he went right into him, literally like shouldered his face, and it reminded me of when we played Spurs at theirs last season, and Holding went into Son,
yeah.
and Holding obviously got a second yellow. He was sent off for that, but why didn't Romero get a second yellow card? Because that was
Because the ball had already gone off the pitch, which
yeah,
is
but I
ridiculous.
mean, it is ridiculous because if he'd have, I don't know, if he'd have kicked him in the head, then he'd likely going to get punished for that, isn't he? But the fact is, he literally just completely wiped him out. There was like you watch that and it makes you angry because, like you say, Saka's had however many yellow cards, and it
That
just
was
absolutely baffles me how they get away with it.
that was Romero's only second yellow of the season, and he is the filthiest bastard in the league.
He is.
I know. I get it with Spurs fans. They're really excited and infused by Cristiano Ronaldo, and because he does dive into tackles, he does win the hearts of fans in that way. I get it, but I get the endearment. But he's awful. I watch him closely because I've got a lot of Spurs mates, and they bang on about him constantly, and it rattles me. I have to be honest; it really gets on my nerves. I play centre half myself, so I watch him. He's constantly out of position. He walks around. He strops. He moans. He's late in the tackle. He's dirty. I don't see the attraction to him. I really don't get it. He was spent half the time on the bench in the World Cup for Otamendi. Him and Martinez took turns, didn't they, to partner him? I don't get the fascination with him because he throws himself into a few tackles. He's filth.
I think it's the same with Lisandro Martinez, isn't it? Is that he's that same kind of player, but I actually think he is.
He's nowhere near as bad as
couple of
Romero.
times, the first couple of times
filthiness.
that I've seen him, I thought, oh my god, I'm glad, I'm glad we didn't get him. But actually, like watching him closely now in a team that's, majorly improved. That's the truth of it. They have majorly improved. I know they're only skinny results, but they're still getting things done. But if you watch him, he's that kind of player. He's got that, he's got that aggression. He's a small fella for a defender, but he's not scared to make that challenge. I don't think he's a dirty player. I just think he's got that that aggression that that you need. That he's not scared to put in that tackle, but he does it right.
He does, yeah. And Romero's cowardly with how he defends, I think.
But I mean, you see it with Spurs, don't you? That they've got players like that. I think they've got a great player in Richarlison because I think he's got that kind of profile as well, hasn't he? So it doesn't surprise me that they all love him. But
I just couldn't.
as
I couldn't
a
believe that he's only on 2 yellows and Saka's on 4. It blew my mind when it flashed up. I thought, well, bloody hell, he's going to have to get sent off. I mean, he's capable of getting sent off to miss the game. He's their best defender, but
no.
um, it's just there's that beautiful slogan, isn't there? It's a funny old game.
Yeah.
And when you see Saka's on 4 yellows and Romero's on 2, going into the halfway point of the season, it's just one of those things you look at and it blows your mind that can
But
even be real.
With Saka, I do think he's got one or two from simulation, but he doesn't dive. So it's
there was who was it? It was against
you know,
Southampton, I think, was one of them when it was a clear foul when he got booked for diving.
it's just
And
it's
they don't
absolutely
see
ridiculous.
yellows, do they? Which is maybe
No,
a rule they need to look at changing.
Well, I mean, if they start changing anything else, it's just going to get too messy, isn't it? Because they brought in VAR to try and make it better, and they can't even do that properly. It's a simple day look at what we see, on the TV, and I mean, obviously some offsides are tight, and I get that, but you can clearly see, like you said, with us when we got that penalty for handball. When I seen it on the screen behind me, I couldn't actually believe that they've been to check it, because it's a simple message to the ref saying he hasn't touched his hand. It was nowhere near. It's not a penalty. It's literally seconds, and I think the frustration with VAR in particular is that it takes so long to decide, and it disrupts the game. That West Ham game was a brilliant game.
Yeah.
It was, they had their chances, we had our chances. It was flowing. It was a brilliant game in terms of, the gameplay. Why disrupt it? We don't want the game to be stopped every 2 minutes when it doesn't need to be. But I think it's just going to get ridiculous with it. If they might as well just automate it completely. If that's the way they're going to go with it. But the refs should be doing the job on the pitch. I know the game's obviously fast and stuff, but like you say, they're like yards from it. They should be able to see. If we can see it from the stands, they should be able to see it. From where they are. So, but maybe they just need to wake up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. What do you make of the Mudryk news today? Then it looks like the deal's about to be finished off.
Yeah, I think
finally tabled an offer they deem acceptable.
62
million overall, I've heard. With some add-ons.
I think that's a brilliant deal. I think they wanted 55. I think obviously euros, 55 million euro.
Yeah, they want a guaranteed 55 million, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think
which is fair enough.
I mean, you look at Pepe, he's going to be sold. If you look at the players that we're going to sell in the summer, we're not going to have a massive window because I think we'll replace some of the players that are going out, but I think the squad that we've got now and with the backup that we've got now, we're not going to need too much adding in. So if you work out how much money we're going to get back from other players, if you work out how much we spent on Pepe, I mean, Mudryk's 2021. He's got, I think, his 80 goal assists in as many games, which is more. If you look at Saka, if you look at, I mean, obviously they haven't played as many games, but if you look at Saka, Martinelli, they've got, and Odegaard as well, they've got brilliant numbers, but he's got exceptional numbers, and obviously he's played in the Champions League. And he's played at that level in the Champions League. I really like him, and I think we spoke about this quite a while back. I really like him, and that's a deal that I want to see get done because he can actually play anywhere across, the front three.
Yeah.
He's not just a left player. He's not just a right player. He can play if you wanted him through the middle. He's got the pace. He can finish. And like I say, 21, just get him signed up, just get him, because I know other clubs are sniffing as well. But I think he wants us, and he's made that clear, hasn't he? Back-to-back games, obviously watching us, and I think a lot of it will come down to that he wants to leave. So I know they want 100 million for him, but there's no way anybody's going to pay that when he's only 21 as well. So I've got a lot to prove. But I just want to see Fabrizio say it's done and dusted. Here we go, and then I'll start to get excited about it. But yeah, what you thinking about it?
I think it will really ramp up this week. I think it'll be done by the weekend. The signs are there now that there's a verbal agreement in place that Shakhtar will play ball. We may need to tweak the deal a little bit and pay a little bit more up front and pay a little bit less in instalments. Those sort of things are
tiny details.
Common practice in transfers. I think that the player side of it's done. That's clear as day, absolutely clear as day, isn't it? That he's agreed to join from just for his antics. He's just waiting for the green light, isn't it? And if he's not on the bench at Spurs, I'd be amazingly surprised. I mean, if you're Arsenal, surely the best thing to do is to get him in before the Oxford game.
Yeah.
Things can move very quickly in football. We signed Zinchenko in 48 hours.
I mean, look at Gapco. He was done and dusted. Within 2 hours from the news actually breaking that they'd had an agreement.
If I was being critical of Arsenal, this will sound critical, but it's not meant to. Obviously, Mudrik's been the target for a number of months. We've known about Jesus being injured since November. Why is the deal not done? That would be my only criticism. Why is it not done?
Yeah.
Why are we still waiting? Because we are light up front. Nelson's out as well. Nelson's been out for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There's another, Marquinhos isn't up to the standard. He's not. He's just not. He needs to go out on loan.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the deal's not been done. What's taking so long? But I do expect them to move quickly now that it's heading in the right direction. It would make sense that he plays some part against Oxford. He's not played a game of football himself since the middle of November because they're on a season break. So, I think he's been doing some training.
It'd be a good opportunity actually. Against. No disrespect to Oxford, but against that team where you can move things around. You can come in and just get some minutes. Get a feel of what it's like to play. For us and with the players around him, and I think it would give him a lot of confidence as well. But I do think it'll get done pretty quickly. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's actually a post that I seen earlier where they believe that he's already in the UK. They believe he's already here because he was. To be fair, I actually seen this story last night and I didn't think much of it, but Lauren's been digging as well to try and work it out, a bit of detective work. But they're saying that he was. Well, the story is that he's working out, he's lifting some weights, and on the door in the background it's got private written in English, and there's something to do with the equipment that he's using is called Kettler or something like that. Don't quote me on it. And the time that he posted it was 23:59, and there's also a clock behind him. Now, at the time that he posted that, I didn't go to bed late last night. It would have been before the 2 o'clock that it would have been in Ukraine when he posted that. So the timing doesn't match up if he was still in Ukraine. And the clock obviously behind him shows that he posted it at the same time that it actually went up. And I remember seeing that before I obviously went to sleep, and it would have been way before 2 o'clock. So if he is already here, that kind of, can you see it?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of.
The door says private.
Yeah. And if you look at the clock behind him, if you look at that clock behind him as well, you can see it's at the time that he's actually posted that. So it's not like it was one earlier on and then he's posted it with the time. You can see that the clock actually matches up. So that was way before. I think Ukraine are two hours ahead. So that would have been 2 o'clock in the morning. I was definitely asleep.
That looks like a hotel gym, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. I tell you what, there's some detectives amongst our fan base, isn't there?
But Lawrence actually just showed me a comment on I think it's actually on his post 2 days ago, where somebody's he put the same song in the reel where 21 says, "Got to see the Gunners win the Premier League."
Yeah, I
But,
watched that reel myself.
yeah,
See it on Twitter.
so I've got a feeling this one's going to get done like very, very quickly. But I mean, yeah, there is definitely some detectives in our fan base. But I mean, I obviously clicked on that last night. I didn't really know much about the time zone in Ukraine. Didn't really think much of it. But then obviously seeing all the posts today, and I'm thinking actually, there's little clues there, isn't there? And I think we did the same with Big Gabby as well, didn't we? Somebody had got the sky from the sunroof and have matched it up to somewhere in London, which was it's hilarious. But yeah, I think this fan base will stop at nothing to get the details before they're actually given.
No.
But yeah, I just want to get this one done and dusted. Because if we start penny pinching, then Chelsea are ready to just throw money like it's nothing.
Do you think? Do you believe the reports that Stan Kroenke's also given the funds for Felix?
I do. I do believe it, because I think we're in a perfect position. I mean, we've extended what the advantage that we had already. We've still got to play City twice. They've got tough fixtures. I mean, then 5 out of their next 7 are really difficult. Obviously, we've got 3 tough games, and then obviously we've got to play City in February. But I think if you find yourself in this position, why wait till the summer to add in? Why not just add in what you need now and then take that into next summer? And you've kind of got an advantage already for next summer, because you've already got a team that have played, technically half a season together, instead of starting fresh. And obviously they'll have a pre-season as a whole team as well to add on to that. And going into next season for hopefully the Champions League, we've already got that experience, we've already got that edge. So I think I do believe from what I've seen over the last couple of seasons that the owners are going to invest, which isn't something we're used to. But I do think they can kind of see that, what Arteta's doing, what Edu's doing, and I do think they are prepared to back that. So, I mean, it's a lot of money, though. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's not a lot of money to win the league, though, is it? And that's the way I think they'll be thinking of it is, right, they've got a great opportunity here, especially with how the return of the league's gone. We've already pulled out another couple of points. But Jesus is out with a difficult injury. There's no guarantee that he finds form straight away either. We are very light in the forward department. I'm sure our forward line is an area that they'd look to strengthen again in the summer anyway, because it's light in numbers.
Yeah.
Why not just bring it forward? An opportunity like João Felix doesn't come around very often.
No, I think I do think they'll fund it, and I do think, if these are the 2 players that we're going to bring in, I'd still like to see us bring in a midfielder as well, because I think for me, Partey is a key element. Like he's a priority for that team to tick, and the same with Odegaard. You take him out, and suddenly he doesn't feel the same, doesn't look the same, doesn't operate the same. So, I mean, it just depends how much they're willing to put in. It depends what's available and how much they're willing to put in. But there's still a lot of games to go.
I think there's quite a bit of budget left from the summer, because if you think about it, we were chasing Pedro Neto towards the end of the January window, and there was reports that we were willing to bid up to 50, 60 million for him. And thank God we didn't, because he's always injured. We were chasing Douglas Luiz.
Yeah.
For 25 million.
Yeah.
Who was the other midfielder who was linked with in the summer?
Tillemans, I think, wasn't it?
Tillemans, they were rumoured to be going in for him for 20, 25 million. Or would have sanctioned that deal, but Leicester wanted 40. So I think there's probably budget left from the summer.
We actually looked at Mudryk as well for 35, and the club didn't want to pay that for him. Obviously, it's cost them now, but So obviously there was the money there, like like you're saying, but
So the budgets come forward, carried over from the summer because we didn't spend it all. I'm sure they would have liked to have
mm,
added a winger towards the tail end of the window, and obviously with the two injuries in midfield, it sort of changed their position a little bit.
mm,
And then you accumulate match day revenue from Europe, which we didn't last year, so that must go into the
mm,
pot, and prize money as well from winning the games, going through to the knockout stages. We obviously then guaranteed that income in the second half of the season, and you can sort of. I would have thought they've already started planning for Champions League football and what budget they're going to allow themselves. So, they might not have to invest as much as you think. To be honest, the money might already be sitting there. I don't think we spent the whole budget in the summer. I think if they could have, they would have added another forward, and they just didn't. They won't. What they won't do is pay over the odds for players they don't want, which is probably why they didn't do anything. Which I admire. It's going to sting us in the arse a little bit. You've already mentioned it. Mudryk was a little bit cheaper, but let's be fair. None of us had heard of him or knew anything about him. We all know a little bit more about him now because he's had a stunning 6 months.
No, I mean,
he does look the real deal.
When we were linked with him before, I've got to be honest, I didn't know much about him. But like when you see you've been linked with a player, or you're after that player, like Douglas Luiz, he's another player that I've seen him play, but I hadn't really took any notices of him. And at the same time that we went in for him, he was scoring from corners. He had a brilliant game yesterday. Obviously, he's gone off. He went off, but he was like what you then start to take notice. But watching him, just taking more notice of clips of him and actually watching him in the Champions League, he seems to fit that profile. Like you look at him and he's fearless. He'll if you let him run, he'll run. It's the kind of player that you have to go through to kind of stop.
It's a shame. Shame he signed his new deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same with Zaha, wasn't it? We were linked with him. I think we've been linked with him every single window. And now he's available on a free, and we've not been linked with him. But obviously he's going to be free. Tielemans could potentially be free. I don't know if that's something they'll revisit.
Tielemans
if obviously they've got it,
doesn't infuse me. I like the player.
I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday?
I had my mate round for the Brighton game, and he said if you look at him and how he's down tools on Leicester, he doesn't want anyone like that at Arsenal, and I can't disagree with that.
No, I think
I don't know if he's down tools, but he's on the bench a lot, isn't he? And I think, well, anyway, if you're not getting games to Leicester, I don't want you at Arsenal.
Is that because he's focused on Arsenal though? Because he's been linked with us since last summer.
Yeah,
and then obviously January window is coming up, and obviously he's been mentioned again. Well, I don't think we went in for him in. I think it's actually last January. We were, rumours were coming out that we were going to go for him in the summer, and I watched him the other day. I don't know if it was yesterday. It might have been Boxing Day or around that time, like in the last couple of games, and he was getting turned in midfield, and it's like you don't usually see that from him. But I do also feel like we're in a position where we are, particularly in the league, where we can go and get better quality. And I'm not saying Tielemans isn't a great player, because if you'd have asked me in the summer, did I want him, or when the transfer window was closing, to get him in, I do rate him as a player. But I don't know about you, but I feel like we're in a position now where we can go and get, we can compete financially. If we bring in the right player, we can get what we want. But I think, if we want to keep up pace with City, Liverpool, United as well, obviously they're improving, Chelsea just splashing money like it's nothing, then we need to be going and getting players, dare I say it, like Bellingham. We need to be going to get that top player that we can improve. The project's obviously attractive because, all the players are talking about it. We kind of need to come away from.
I think there's a secret admiration from Rice at Arsenal. I think Declan Rice is a target in the summer. I think it's clear. It's clear as day. He's up for sale. because he's refusing his deal and only have 2 years left in the summer. So West Ham want to cash in, and I think they've accepted that.
Do you not think he'll go Chelsea though? Because he's got obviously,
No.
he's good friends with Mount. He's
Yeah, he's
got
good friends with.
obviously
Yeah,
he's
he's
come
good friends with
from
Mount, but he's good friends with the England boys that play for us as well, I suppose
yeah.
now. And I know
Would you
he's.
take him?
Yeah, I would, because he fills two roles. I think he could play the left eight, and he could play Partey's role, and
Mm,
he can play centre half, and he's very good at centre half.
mm.
It'd be a no-brainer. I'm not necessarily sure he comes in and absolutely dominates a position in the starting 11, but then
No, I think
I
so.
don't, I don't want players that are just guaranteed to play in the starting 11. I want players that compete for the starting 11.
Mm.
Um,
And he's got the experience as well, Premier League experience.
he
But
has, yeah, and he's
I
got.
mean,
He's a class player. I mean, I'll give anyone I know that Sports West Ham a hard time about him, because they do bang on like he's the best player since Zidane, but he
no, I do
is
like him.
class, and he'd be a brilliant addition to us. And I'd much rather we waited, rather than spend anything on Tillemans now. We wait until the summer and see what we can do. Because if he's a viable option, then we have to go in for that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there. I know there was pictures of Arteta talking to him up full time, and is I think he's a top player. I do like him. He's got that like leadership, leadership qualities as well, and he turns up in the cup. Obviously, he scored, didn't he? And you could see he was like really, ecstatic about it. But I think I don't want to say it because it's a bit harsh. Because obviously, West Ham are a good team. They will give you trouble. But I think he's one of those players that he's too good to be there. He kind of needs to play for a big club, because I think he can reach, um, higher potential. But it just depends how much are we going to have to pay for him. But then again, if we've got it, and Arteta said it, hasn't he? He keeps coming out every time he's asked about signings, saying, if it's the right profile, if it makes the club better, if it takes the club to the next level, if it improves the team. And I definitely think he is a player that does improve the team.
Yeah.
Like I say, not necessarily as a starting 11, because I think that's a fixed starting 11, but he's definitely a player you can rotate, you can bring him on, and he is good competition, because he will fight for, to win, and I do like him. I do like him.
Yeah,
But I
he's
think, but this is the level. That's what I mean. This is the level of player that we need to be targeting. Not just the budget option, but the real, the players that have got potential to be world class already are, approaching that.
yeah. I mean, he's of that maybe not necessarily Declan Rice, but he's of that caliber of player that we should be looking at to bring in the summer.
Yeah,
Maybe you can use El Nino or Laconga as a make weight in the deal.
yeah,
Maybe we should start doing that with players that we can't give games to. That, let's be fair. I think when we signed Laconga, we've all of a sudden we've jumped 2 or 3 levels above where
yeah.
we thought we'd be, and he just doesn't fit, and he can't get any game time to even improve. He cannot get a minute on that pitch, can he? I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play against Oxford.
That's the thing, isn't it? We've got these players that we brought in to that are part of the process, that are part of where we're going, and some players they just fit straight in. Obviously, Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe, they're those kind of players. But to be fair, he is going to need time to develop. He's still young as well. And he's got to take his chances when he gets them. And I think it was the start of. No, it was actually last season. He had a few games, and I looked at him and thought, you know what, he's a it's a good player. He's going to be good. But then
There's a decent
it's
player in there.
about that. It's about that consistency. But I think the best thing for him would be to go out on loan, to get the experience, to develop. I mean, look at Flo. He's gone out and he's doing absolutely brilliant, isn't he? And I know there's been talk about bringing him back early, and I I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think leave him in
It's not.
France. He's doing a good job. Let him have the full season. Let him have that full development and see where we are. At the end of the season, we might not need to bring in another striker. We might actually use him. He might be ready. We don't know because obviously there's still a long way to go. But if you look, we've got a lot of really good. We've got a lot of really good players. Also, we've got Charlie Patino as well. He's another one. He's doing really well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, you've got to look at the bigger picture, but I think Lokonga maybe should go out on loan. I think Marquinhos is another one. I do like him. You can see he's got fight. You can see he's willing to. He's a bit fearless as well, isn't he?
A good situation for Lokonga is Burnley come up and he goes back to playing for Company for a season on loan. Because he played for Company, didn't he, at Anderlecht?
Yeah.
And at least it's...
Yeah, I think, it's obviously Premier League as well, isn't it? So,
Premier League, he'll battle the drop, it will toughen him up.
Yeah.
He'll play week in, week out.
And obviously with somebody that, he knows as well, feels comfortable with, and who knows him. But I think you can see, I mean, from watching All or Nothing, you can see he's frustrated, he wants to play, and you don't want an unhappy player, you want somebody performing. But there is, at the end of the day, there's a standard, isn't there? And like you say, that's massively improved because that standard is much higher now than it has been, I'd say, since the Invincibles, if we're saying it how it is, because that level is you've got to come in, you've got to fight, and you've got to give 100%. And if you don't, then somebody will be ready to, come in and take your place. So I think at the time we got him, it was ideal for him to come to us, and he was probably promised a lot more than he was going to get. But I definitely think he's one for the future. So just let him go out and get the experience, and then put him in. When the time's right, or if the time doesn't become right, that he goes on to another club. But obviously, we don't know what's going to happen, do we?
No, you don't want to give up on him so soon either, because when he's played, he's not atrocious, is he?
No, I actually think he's a good player. He just needs that experience.
Yeah,
he needs the experience.
He did all right in Partey's absence earlier in the season. He's another one that largely when he's played in a heavily rotated side. You don't get the best out of everyone like that.
Yeah.
I think if he was, I know he was a little bit naive at Old Trafford, but when he was chucked in against Villa, wasn't he? When Partey and El Neni were both out.
Yeah.
He was very good on the day, actually, and a couple of occasions. He's a tidy footballer. He played well when he played last year, so I don't want to give up on him. But I also don't want him to grow frustrated.
Yeah.
Sitting on our bench, and maybe, keeping El Neni at the club for another year next year and loaning him out and buying somebody else is the way forward for him. But let's be fair, Partey and Xhaka are going to be in their 30s next season. And we do probably need to think about what you're going to do moving forward.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously you've got to plan for that future, haven't you? You've got to gel them into the squad, without harming what's already there. But I do like him. I like I said, I've seen him play last season, and I do think he's a really good player. But you don't want a frustrated player that's not getting the experience, and you don't want the experience to come when it could potentially cost you your points in when you're at a point in the season, like where we are at the moment. We just can't afford to give him that opportunity or give him those minutes. And it's, I guess Arteta's been a bit, but it has to be, doesn't he? Has to be selfish and get maximum out of.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if Partey and Xhaka are fit, they play, don't they? It's as simple as that. But yeah, no. I mean, there's no chance of him leaving on loan this month. Then you don't think? Because El Neni fills in for Partey, doesn't he? And the left 8, if Xhaka was to get injured, I think Vieira plays that role now.
Yeah.
Or Smith Rowe, now he's fit.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, if you look at where Smith Rowe was playing, when he was fit, if you look at where Xhaka occupies and obviously works with, Martinelli or Zinchenko or whoever's around there, Smith Rowe would fit into that. Obviously, I don't know. I think have we got enough options that if somebody gets injured, and I think we have. So I guess if he has to go out on loan or the right club come in, I don't see why. It's 6 months of experience, isn't it? Why? I guess why not?
Absolutely. I think if
But
the deal
are we
was
going to
right,
need
then
him
yeah.
for? We're going to need him for cup games, maybe, because that's another. I mean, Smith Rowe for me is a starting or a bench player for the Premier League, in my opinion. And obviously Xhaka unless he gets injured, but at the same time you don't want to leave yourself short. So
No, you don't.
it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because we don't know how far we're going to get in any of the competitions. We don't know. Obviously, we've got 2 fixtures to fit in as well. Actually, no, because we've filled in Man City, so we've got Everton to put in somewhere as well. It's a
I'm surprised
difficult one. It's
Everton's not
really
been.
difficult.
I'm surprised Everton's not been rearranged first, actually, as that was the first postponed game.
Was Everton the one when the Queen died?
Everton was because of the Queen's
Yeah.
passing,
So I think everybody's got that game, haven't they?
and then City was because we had to rearrange. Oh yeah, of course they have. Yeah, it's the whole league, isn't it? That was suspended.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know
okay.
how they're going to work. I don't know how they're going to work that, but I'm guessing they're going to have to fit it in.
I know we've got Everton away coming up.
Yeah. I think that's after United, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, it's
And that's
before the
not
end
going
of
to
the
be
month.
an easy
Yeah.
game. That's not going to be an easy game.
No. Well, you say that it should be. They are muck. I mean, I don't know how they managed to get anything out of the game at City.
I think it's just
Perfectly
going to go in there, isn't it?
yeah. Well, they've got a good
I
record
think
against City, though.
yeah. But like you said, no, there's no easy game, is there? You've got to fight for everything, and that's the mentality the team's got to have. If you score one, score another, or the best, all the big teams do it. City will score 10 if you let them. Same with Liverpool. They'll never ease off. They'll just keep going and going.
Yeah.
But
Just before we finish, mate, score prediction for tomorrow.
It's really difficult. I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm gonna say 2-1, but I've got a feeling. It'll be 1-1. I think it's gonna be a really tough game, but my heart's telling me 2-1. So I'm gonna go with 2-1.
I'm going 3-1.
I hope you're right.
I think we'll be all right tomorrow. I just think we're really good at home.
Yeah.
Teams fear us at the Emirates. I just
think they play with so much freedom, and obviously they give us a hiding at their place. I know it was their place, but
yeah,
I
they
don't know.
are a good side.
I
It'll
just
be a hard
watch them, and
game.
they're not a team that I'd want to be playing right now. They're probably one of the last teams I'd want to play right now. But I hope I hope we win it to 0. To be honest, because it would just be less nerves. But like you
We can
say,
do with a clean sheet, can we?
we're at home. We've obviously got 7 points ahead now. That's going to the fans are just going to be.
It's going to be electric.
Yeah, it's going to be unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, I'm going to stick with 3-1. I think, they're a good side. I want to show them respect, but at the same time, we're top, and we're not top by fluke. We're top on merit.
Yeah.
And I know everyone goes, "Oh yeah, well, you've got Newcastle. It's a tough game." There ain't a single fan of theirs looking forward to coming down to our place and playing.
Yeah. I mean, we've both only lost one game all season, haven't we? Both teams have only lost one game.
Yeah, exactly. And they draw a lot, Newcastle, and they're they've
They
impressed
drew
me
with
this
Leeds,
year.
didn't they? Was it
They
Leeds?
drew with Leeds. Yeah,
Yeah.
me mate Went, who's a Leeds fan. He said there was nothing special Newcastle, which gives me some encouragement. Although I think they got Wilson back and St. Maximin was on the bench as well, so they've got a couple of players back from injury.
Yeah.
that have caused us problems. I think the main issue is the counter attack. They've got so much pace going forward.
Yeah,
As long as we
it's
can
just
be,
devastating, isn't it, when they get going?
yeah, as long as we're not naive to that, I think we'll be okay. But I think we'll dominate the ball. Everyone's fit and firing. Kind of expect to see Smith Rowe on the bench tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, it'd
I'll
be
be
good to see
difficult.
him get 10 minutes maybe
Yeah, I'll be disappointed if he's not
towards
on
the
the
end.
bench because
Well, he's in training, isn't he? So he
he's
should
training. Yeah,
be.
he should
We've
be there.
had a thin bench, haven't we, for the last few games? So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just another
So,
option, isn't it? We know what he can bring, and he's probably going to be fired up to getting started as well. And obviously
yeah,
at home, could get behind him, give him confidence.
yeah, 3-1 Arsenal, and then not that I ever want them to win, but a nice Chelsea victory on Thursday would do us nicely, wouldn't it?
No, I'll go for a draw on that one, and then they can have a point for the next. Who have they got after that?
City have got the City's run is they got Chelsea away, United away, and Spurs at home. That's the next three in the league.
I say United win then, and then I don't want Spurs to win, so a point each there, and being not as comfortable. Obviously, we can get the business done. That'd be perfect.
I'll take Tottenham winning at City, wouldn't you?
Oh, I can't. No, I can't.
I
No,
know
they
it's
can drop
against
2
everything
points.
in our makeup, but if you're going for the title, you want City to drop as many as possible.
Yeah, but
Spurs are absolutely no danger at all this year.
I just hate it when they win. I just want them to lose as many points as possible as well. I mean, if they both drop 2, it's a brilliant result, isn't it? Because they're the two. Obviously, Newcastle, they've got a game in hand. But I mean, if we could take care of Newcastle and City and Spurs can take care of each other, and then we do what we've got to do. Perfect scenario. But I can't ever want them to win. I'm sorry.
That's fair enough. I can understand. It's a hard thing to admit to. So, just before we finish up, one last question: do you believe?
Yeah,
Because I think the stars are aligned. It's just everything's fallen into place for us this year.
yeah. No, I really do. I really do. And it's been something I haven't. I mean, we've spoken about it for a little while, haven't we? And it's been something I haven't wanted to get like caught up in. But if you look at what City have got in the next 7, look what we've got in the next 7. I've said to I was saying to my mate just today that if we beat Newcastle, beat Spurs, even just draw with United, obviously that's going to be a tough game. Obviously we're at home. If coming into our game at City, we've got a little bit more. I'm not going to put a number on it. We've got a little bit more advantage than we have now. Obviously, taking into account their fixtures. If we go into that City game and we win, and I fancy us against anybody in the world at home, it might just be overconfidence, but that's honestly how I feel at home. If we go in and win that game, I'll be like 99% that yeah.
Fair enough.
What about you?
I believe, mate. Yeah, I said at the start of the season, I think we can challenge for the title and we'll be up there. I don't know why I said it at the time because it sounds nuts when you're saying it on game week 2 or 3 so early on. But
I remember you saying,
yeah,
and we had the whole debate, and I think it was Ben and Steve on. I think Dylan was on as well, and I was like, no, not this season, but next season, and you stuck to it, and you was like, no, we're going to do it, and I really hope you're right.
I don't know what made me say it. Even to this day, I think at the time it still sounds bonkers to say it so early on. I think we'd just beaten Palace or maybe Leicester. I can't remember if it was after the first.
I think it was Palace.
It was so convincing, that victory, and the way I'd seen us perform in pre-season. obviously everything had to come our way, like lack of
Mm,
injuries, things like that. We needed so
yeah,
much stuff, and so far it has.
touch wood.
Touch wood, yeah. But I guess I knew we was a good team at the start of the season, and we could challenge for the title because what went in our favour is we have Europa League, so we rotated for that, kept on fresh for the Premier League. All the teams, Spurs, Chelsea, who's in it, Liverpool and City, they've all had to play full strength in the Champions League, barring maybe a couple of fixtures. They're also going to have to do that this half of the season.
Yeah.
And I think, everyone has a pop at Arsenal for their lack of depth. Well, when City rotate 3 or 4 players, they drop off massively as well.
Yeah. No, they do.
So,
They do.
yeah. And I think we're in a position where we don't play Europa League football until March. And if we buy 2 or 3 players, we could probably compete in it as well. But we could just bin it off by then. By then, you'll have a better idea, of where we are in the title race. We could be behind City and have to maybe concede defeat, or we could be 20 points, well, not 20, but 15 points in front of them, 10 points in front of them.
Which should just be ridiculous, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely ridiculous. But
we're in a position where we can bin that off, or even for the first couple of rounds, not even have to go full strength. Everything's just in our favour.
Talking about earlier pods, I think it was probably about the 3rd or 4th that we did. So it was around that period where City were, I think they drew 3-3, didn't they? And I think that was with Newcastle. It might have been a bit before that. And I remember saying that City aren't the team this season that have been in previous seasons. And I think you look at City and you see City as this team that they've got the mentality and they will go and they will steamroll, and somehow they will always get it done. And this season, and I might regret this come the end of the season, but this season, I know they've got Haaland, but if you look at Liverpool as well, they've got a striker. They've improved their teams in terms of he is a good striker. I know he's not on form at the moment and he's lacking confidence in front of guys, but he is a top player. And obviously Haaland's doing everything that he's doing. You can't, he's just absolutely unbelievable. I enjoy watching him play. I think he's brilliant. But I don't think City as a team are better this season than they were last season. I know Liverpool aren't better this season than they were last season. So I fancy us to go to Anfield and get something, and I never fancy us to do that. And I fancy us to play City and get something. I don't feel like I don't think City are this team that I fear playing. We played really well on New Year last season. I did say earlier on as well, and I just don't fear them. I don't think they're the complete team that we know that they can be. I don't think they're going to achieve the points that they have in previous seasons. I think a lot of teams are going to go there and they're going to look at what other teams have done, and when they come to them as one, I don't think they're going to have the same fear as when Arsenal turn up, because actually nobody's used to this Arsenal team turning up.
No,
I think we're the team that have got. I think we're the team with the fear factor. I think we're the team that are actually going to go places, and I mean to places like Man City and to places like Anfield, and actually they're going to think, this team could beat us. This team are a serious team. That's just how I feel. I can't really. I think without dribbling on, I can't put more context on it, but I really do feel like we're the team that people. I think every team and fans are actually starting to think. Actually, this isn't just luck. This is a team that's dropped 5 points out of what is it? 48? Is it 48? Which is it's absolutely ridiculous. It's what all the best teams do. And I think I was watching something earlier on as well that no other team in the top 5 leagues has got as many points as us after this many games, which is absolutely ridiculous. So
the hardest league in the world, and we've smashed it so far. With
the squad that we've got,
get a little bit of respect.
I think we deserve it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we deserve.
people don't like giving it to Arsenal.
But I guess you when you go on and you achieve something, that's when you can kind of demand that respect. And I know you said it earlier on. I'll be honest, I didn't think early. I mean, I was happy, of course. We'd had a brilliant start to the season, much different to last season. Obviously, 3 defeats, and we started really well. Pre-season was brilliant, but even then, I didn't. At no point did I think we're gonna be where we are now. That we're gonna sit top of the league, and we're gonna be clear at that. We're obviously still needing to play City twice. It's just it's unbelievable. So I know it's been a long answer, but yes, I do believe. I do think it's down to us, isn't it? We are the team to beat. And I just fancy us.
Got to lose 3 more games in City for them to overtake us.
And obviously got 2 against them, which could even increase that.
Yeah.
But I think January is really going to set the tone for what's going to happen by the time we go into them against that game. And obviously, I know me and you are going to go to that. We're going to go to that game together. Put that atmosphere on I think it's 15th February. Even though it's on a weeknight, I think there's going to be a lot of people not going into work, following that game, because I think everything that we've seen this season in terms of atmosphere, I just think it's going to be. I think it's going to be something none of us have ever experienced, regardless of what the difference is in points by that point. It's just absolutely massive.
It's it's going to be a hell of a night, that, isn't it? I imagine if we win that game, it would be absolutely buzzing up there.
Obviously, I know it's an evening, and I'm planning to get down and back the same, like the same thingy, because obviously Lauren's not coming with me. Otherwise, I'll probably stay over. But I just don't know what state everybody's going to be in afterwards. I mean, my heart rate's already ridiculously high. I get notifications on my watch is 150, 140, and that's just like when I'm sat down, not even like doing anything. But yeah, I don't know what state we're going to be in after it, especially if we win. What state everybody's going to be in? We won't get at the ground for like 3 hours.
Looking forward to it, mate. I really am.
Well, it's going to be brilliant. But it's good to feel like this as a fan, because I haven't felt like this for. I mean, I was 9 when we did the Invincible season. Well, I knew of it and all of that. I feel obviously I'm much more aware now, and obviously I've got that a lot more passion for it now. So it's just, it's great to actually feel confident and to actually be on this process and see it and understand it a lot more than when I was 9. So yeah, it's just whatever happens, it's been it's gonna be it's gonna be a season to remember regardless.
Yeah, the progress has been astonishing, hasn't it? And even if we don't win it this year, it sets us in good stead for years to come. It's the big jump that we've been waiting for years as a fan base. That massive jump from just being on the periphery of top 4 to actually just being in the top 4 and not even in the conversation for are you going to make it.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since Arsenal been in that position, and even longer since we've been probably 2008 since we've considered ourselves as in the front running for the title. So it's been a horrible 14 15 years. It really has. I'm glad it just seems to be coming to the end.
I know there was that Leicester season, and that was just one of those those freak seasons, and I think they would just going to win it. We were
never in it. It was always 8, 9 points sloppy behind.
Not consistent. But no, I think I don't know. I just, if we keep doing what we're doing and add to what we've got, and the teams around us keep doing what they're doing, we'll be fine. Well, I think following that game in February, we'll we'll have a very good idea of, what's going to happen in the next 2.5 months. It's like 2.5 months, isn't it? Which is, there's not really that many games left after that, is there? Is there? I mean, not loads, but
after the
there's
City
enough
game,
Yeah,
I think that is game 22 for us, so there'll still be 16 left.
yeah.
It is basically 2 a week now, isn't it, until the end of the season? I think there's a ridiculous international break in March, March, April time.
But I mean, compared to what we need to, I mean, obviously we don't know what position we're going to be in, but I think we'll have a good idea with what we've got left of, what can happen, because I think most of our big games, I think we'll only have Chelsea left after Man City, and then obviously we've got City again, haven't we? But in terms of like the top teams, obviously we'll have played Spurs twice, we'll have played United twice, we'll have played City once.
Yeah.
We'll have played Chelsea twice coming up, leading up. So I think that's the April game.
Have Liverpool away to come as well.
Yeah,
And
I think that's the 8th of April, isn't it? Yeah, Newcastle away is going to be. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a game. We've got Villa away as well in February. So maybe after that Villa away game, because that's actually my next away game. I think it's after. It is after City, isn't it? It's that weekend after. I think it's the 18th.
It is. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I'll probably won't even be in any state to be going to that game anyway.
Actually,
I'll probably be in.
I think the rearranged home fixture against Everton is before we play City.
Before?
I think so. No, it's not. No, Brentford.
Well, we've got them at Goodison, haven't we? Before.
Yeah. No,
before City.
I'm talking shit. Right. Yeah, we've got Brentford at home, City at home, Villa away, Leicester away. Okay.
I mean, that's a tough 2 games, so isn't it? Villa and Leicester away, because they're the kind of teams. I mean, Villa away, we only scraped it 1-0 last season, didn't we?
We got City away on the 26th of April. Obviously, these fixtures are subject to change for TV, but that's a Wednesday. And then that following weekend, we're at home.
City.
Away at City on late April, midweek. We're at home to Chelsea that following weekend, and away to Newcastle the weekend after that.
So that's a really tough one, isn't it?
There's a free week in there, or free midweek, and I wouldn't be surprised if Everton's chucked in somewhere around there.
I mean, that's already a tough period. Never mind chicken early. But again, for the teams that have been their games rearranged, but not really any disadvantage. But I'd hope by April, I'd hope by then we've got a massive. We'll have found ourselves a massive point gap. I mean, 7 points is massive anyway. I don't know why we're saying it's only. 7 points is a big gap.
Just not used to it.
At this point in the season as well.
Yeah, it's a huge gap, and as long as it goes to plan tomorrow, it'll be 10 points, and then pressure's back on them. And they're
not playing.
Despite what you think of Chelsea, it's not an easy place to go, Stamford Bridge.
No,
and they are in desperate need of points themselves. With a couple of players with points to prove, Sterling being one of them, we want to score against them, I should imagine. And
I think it'll be interesting.
It'll do us a favour. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll look forward to the week ahead.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to be back enjoying football. Well, I'll leave it there, mate. Unless you've got anything else to add on.
No, nothing else.
No. We've been going an hour and a half, so it's a good stint.
Yeah, we'll catch up after the game tomorrow. Maybe towards the end of the week if you're free then.
Yeah, can do one. Maybe Friday, something like that. Saturday evening, possibly, because we don't play until Monday, do we, in the cup? So
no.
Yeah.